All right, guys, third video of the day. Again, I thoroughly appreciate you guys watching this show. This will probably be all uploaded at different time periods and different timestamps during the day so you guys can digest it. I'm going to make a video about Texas A&M and where I think they are as a program in the SEC. I think that A&M, and it's been outlined by pretty much every smart person you listen to, they have the money to win. They've invested in themselves. Even though they don't have the championships, they don't have the traditional success, they're a team that ironically is placed in a better spot than even Clemson. And Clemson was a team that in 1980 won a championship, but then went through a dry spell before Dabo arrived and completely changed the course of the entire program. So anyway, anyhow, and anyway. I'm going to talk about Jimbo. So Jimbo Fisher, the offense has been actually all right this year. Defensively, it still is not that great. I mean, they should have a better secondary. They're missing on guys, even from that class. They just really haven't hit on any guys in the secondary from even that loaded class that they were able to bring into A&M. They have hit on some of the guys from that really talented class. I think Walter Nolan can eventually maybe he could turn into a first-round NFL draft pick, and maybe he could continue to be productive. I also believe that Evan Stewart is a phenomenal talent that they got in that class. Connor Weigman is turning into a better quarterback than Cade Klubnik is from that class. So Weigman looks like an all-right quarterback. I don't believe that he's elite. I think that he's a decent player. So that gets you talking about now A&M. So A&M, they're going to continue to go through really tough games. They got LSU on their schedule. They got a couple of other challenging opponents that are still on the schedule here for Texas A&M. I'm going to give you guys a list of candidates that could possibly replace Jimbo Fisher. And it's going to be a really fun offseason for that rumor mill. It's not going to be fun to see Jimbo Fisher lose his job, and I even feel guilty that we're presuming that someone's going to lose their job. But if someone's going to lose their job, I prefer it, to be in the manner of losing football games and not getting the job done on the field, because that's something that's easy to wrap your head around. If it's something like scandal, like what happened at Northwestern or Michigan State, it's really sad, it's confusing, and it's frustrating to see a guy in like Mel Tucker and Pat Fitzgerald that you really think had great years ahead of him be stunted in their growth. That part sucks, to get, kind of the lever pulled from you in a matter of seconds. But with Jimbo Fisher, this thing's been boiling over for a long time. This is pretty easy to wrap your head around in terms of Jimbo not getting the job done. You're at A&M, you're getting any recruit you want, and you're putting out 7 and 5 seasons, and your offense was so bad that you needed to go out there and hire a former SEC coach in Bobby Petrino to help rescue the offense. Meanwhile, the defensive secondary is still a mess. You're going on the road to Miami and you're losing. You're playing Alabama, and every team's get-right game in the passing game is against your shredded secondary. And you think that Max Johnson is going to be able to get your offense in really good spots when really you just can get better quarterback play at A&M 1 through 3. You can get really good quarterback play, and this is now like year 7 of not winning the SEC, never going to Atlanta. And A&M is a perfect job where you can win national championships and SEC titles because of all the money. The infrastructure is perfect there. So let's talk about it. If Jimbo doesn't improve, let's talk about who can be a candidate to be a head coach there. I believe that there's a couple of guys that are going to be highly thought of. I believe that Mike Norvell from Florida State would certainly be interested in the job. I think he's the hottest name right now on the board. What he's done at Florida State, the offense, the development of Jordan Travis, the way he attacks the transfer portal. I do think that Mike Norvell is a really, really great coach. I think that he's really solid. Would he be outstanding at A&M? I worry about that defense a little bit of Norvell. I think that he plays in a little bit of an easier league. I think that he would be like a really decent hire. Would he beat everybody on the recruiting trail? I'm not sure. I think he would be all right. I don't think he'd be elite. Then you get Lane Kiffin, who is kind of in the same mix as Norvell. I think that he'd also be like pretty solid. That's a pretty safe choice in terms of actually endearing yourself to the fan base, because Lane has won a lot of games at Ole Miss, and he does come up with really good scheme, and he does adapt just like Norvell. So those are two solid options. Those are the two big options, I think, are Lane Kiffin and Mike Norvell. There are also big names that are out there. I believe that James Franklin, with the frustration at Penn State, you could, with this A&M job, you could pretty much attract almost anybody in the country. So you get James Franklin at Penn State, who's created a really good team. Penn State fans are getting a little bit tired of Franklin. Could Franklin possibly go to A&M? That is certainly a possibility. Now I'm going to get to guys that I actually think can be elite. Now, if I was A&M and I was in charge of making this decision, I'm going to tell you the guys that I actually think that I actually would really curiously target. And some of these are going to sound a little wild, but that's maybe the point of the video, or just to be interesting. I believe that Jonathan Smith at Oregon State, like the job that he's done, the physicality that they play with defensively and on the offensive line, would really translate into College Station, Texas. You definitely can make a good point about Jonathan Smith. Can Smith recruit at the highest level, and is he willing to really play the NIL game? Because at least Lane Kiffin, Franklin, and Norvell are all playing the NIL game, and they're all playing it at an elite level. But is Jonathan Smith ready to go into that world, play the NIL game, spend a lot of money on players, get talented guys that are real talents? And when you're really talented, you sometimes can be more stuck in your ways than a player that maybe goes to Oregon State when you're just getting, you know, the 3-star guys that are the so-and-so gritty players that don't have the type of, you know, hype behind them. But is Jonathan Smith ready for the move? I just think he's one of the best coaches in the country, and the job that he's done, his age, the way he's able to develop solid offense and quarterback play, it's real pro-style offense. I really respect Jonathan Smith, and I think Jonathan Smith would be really wise. I think it could hit really big. I think the defense can also be fantastic. Let's talk about also some coordinators that could eventually have the highest ceiling. I think that Tony White, the job he's done at Nebraska this year with Matt Rule, has been impeccable. I think that he's right now my favorite coordinator in the entire country is Tony White. I think that the job he's doing defensively is incredible. I think that Brian Ward of Arizona State, I mean, that job that he did with those players in Tempe, Arizona, for him to pretty much take this defense, and they really don't have a lot of pieces. And you see Brian Ward from a blitz scheming perspective. I think that the guy's totally brilliant. He totally stopped a brilliant Washington offense. I think Brian Ward is doing an outstanding job. I think he's going to be in the head coaching conversation at a high level. And could A&M target him? They're probably not. They're probably going to go after the other guys. But I think that his ceiling, Brian Ward has a really high ceiling, and so does Tony White. Their ceilings are even maybe higher than Lane Kiffin's ceiling. I just think that they are brilliant minds with football. We're talking about brilliant minds and who I believe is brilliant. I'm also trying to think about, with A&M, you could literally go after anybody. Mike Elko is going to be a name that's popular. Solid coach. Again, just like Norvell, I don't think he would fail. How willing is he to get involved in the NIL game? A little bit like Jonathan Smith. It has been a small sample size, but I believe that Mike Elko is a solid coach. Does he develop great quarterback depth? I don't know. But he's done a really nice job at Duke, and I think he's a hot name for a reason. I think he's done a really nice job. Kalen DeBoer of Washington is a name that is interesting for this job. I believe that there's a chance he would go, but I think he likes Washington. I think Dan Lanning should stay at Oregon. I think that they have everything they need there, and Dan Lanning likes Eugene. I think that Dan Lanning, again, of course, is tremendous. So DeBoer and Lanning are towards the top of the list. Glenn Schumann's a guy that, Georgia defensive coordinator that is going to get also offers and interest for the job and opportunities. And now we're just spitballing here with names. Eli Drinkowitz is hitting it at the right time. And then just rounding out the list, you got guys like GJ Kinne and Eric Morris that are two guys from this, from this air raid offense. They're doing a sensational job. I mean, North Texas almost beat Tulane. Eric Morris, developed Cam Ward, and all the guys from Independent or from Incarnate Word are really great coaches. GJ Kinne at Texas State, with what he's done with TJ Finley and what he's doing there at Texas State there, is phenomenal in that league. All right. So Jamie Chadwell is a really good offensive mind. So there's a lot of names that you can go at A&M for sure. But I listed like probably 10 or 12 that I would think of. And that would be interesting. So that I think are even going to be better than Jimbo Fisher. And I believe that the time could be coming, for A&M to start thinking about this, and the buyout $75 million, so it's pretty interesting. So we'll see if Weigman comes back. I think that Bobby Petrino has actually helped this offense this year. It's kind of helped Evan Stewart and Thomas, get going on the outside. So we're going to have to see what transpires out there in College Station.